do you think the MTG Lord of the Rings set looks kind of like a Commander set? I thought this was gonna be a modern set. Regardless, we went through it, Jake and I did, and picked out our favorite Commander cards. Went over them with chat on our last stream. Give me just a second to thank our Patreon for supporting us on our goal to do this full time, and we'll be right back with our favorite Commander picks from Lord of the Rings MTG, Commander Masters Light.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.
I gotta say, Jake, this is a pretty stacked set. We've got a lot more cards than usual in here.
That's right. These are non-box topper cards, and like Joel said, we have picked our favorite Commander picks. I was thinking we would maybe have a 10 card list. What did we end up with, Joel? How many cards are on our list tonight?
Many more than 10.
Many more than 10. We're going to go through a slideshow here. We're going to talk through some of our favorite cards from the set. And
26
yeah,
are
we
on this
ended
list.
with 26 cards. So even though this set, the Universes Beyond crossover,
backdoor
is
Commander
designed for
set.
modern, it is definitely a backdoor Commander set. It is just stacked with Commander staples. So yeah, we should just get into it. The whole land cycle is pretty sexy. There's a whole bunch of other cards that are really good, and we're gonna get through each of them, and we're gonna try to be brisk here.
Orcish Bowmasters, a black, a 1 and 1/1 Orc Archer Flash. Everybody's talking about this card. When it ETBs and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, deals 1 damage to any target, then amass Orcs 1, you create a token or either grow your Orc army token. Look, it's good. Combine it with wheels. Everybody in chat right now, combine this with wheels. And we're like, yeah, right. We get it. We get it. You'll get cards. You'll get damage. Yeah, but you can combine this with wheels. Yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
I think
it's
that
still
this will
pretty
see some
fragile.
play. It's fragile, but CEDH, you're not going to want to remove this, right? Unless you're close to death from it.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong card.
I think that people will find some use for it. Spiteful Banditry, Jake. This one's crazy.
Yeah, 2 red and X enchantment. Whenever Spiteful Banditry enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each creature. Whenever 1 or more creatures your opponents control die, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever 1 or more creatures your opponents control. So you're only getting 1 treasure, but it's still very strong.
Yeah, I mean, and whenever. Each turn.
Whenever.
It's not just on your turn. If something dies, you go, wait, did you have a creature die that turn? Treasure token for me, baby.
That's right.
This is now the second card in...
It's like a red meat hook, kind of.
What is it?
Spice just said it. Red meat hook.
What is an unofficial cycle now, which is the meat hook cycle. We've got our red meat hook, except it does treasures instead of an aristocrats thing. I think this is very good. I think that decks will run this. An enchantment, a board wipe that stays on the battlefield and does something and can potentially be returned to your hand to recast. I think that there is a lot of potential there with that red mythic.
Yes.
Flowering of the White Trees, another enchantment that we really love. Man, my Dahada deck's going to love this. There's so many Legendary Matters cards in this set. My Legendary Matters deck is just going, feed me, feed me. 2 white, Legendary enchantment. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1, and non-legendary creatures you control still get a nice little +1/+1.
Yeah. So your legends are getting super stacked. I don't hate that ward 1 either. If you're going wide with legends, if you have a Legends Matters kind of thing going on, it's going to be a really difficult cost, especially if you're trying to cast spells and have mana up for spot removal. It just seems like a really good anthem. Just like gets better in time.
Yeah, plus it counts as a historic card for cards that are for decks that need historic triggers, synergies, stuff like that. I love anytime we get like legendary enchantments or legendary lands, you know, because it's legendary artifacts, because we're getting more support in that direction. Jake, there and back again. Crazy Saga here.
Yeah, 2 red and 3. Up to 1, the first phase of this, up to 1 target creature can't block for as long as you control For as long as you control there and back again. The ring tempts you. Search your library for a mountain card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And then the third phase, create Smog, a legendary 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying haste. And when this creature dies, create 14 treasure tokens. Absolutely busted there, that final chapter of this.
I've never seen a creature that I want to come into the battlefield, swing and deal some damage, and then immediately sacrifice more.
Oh, man.
I like that you're getting a basic land with this. I know you're already on 5 mana, but, you know, red-black's never going to turn down a free basic out of their library.
This pairs so well with, God, what's the black card? I can't remember the name of it. Oh my God, it's the one where you win the game. It has win the game.
Oh,
it has win the game on it. The treasure card that says win the game.
Phyrexian Dreadnought.
Yeah, that's it.
Revel in Riches.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Revel in Riches works really well with that.
And Miss Bubbles in chat made an excellent point that I forgot to highlight. It says search your library for a mountain card. I think I said they would never turn down a basic. They're never going to turn down a mountain card, because that's going to hit some important targets there. There and back again seems like a sweet red Saga.
Look at everything you're getting for 5 red mana. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Delighted Halfling. In a world of mana dorks, how about a mana dork that is a Cavern of Souls? 1 green, 1/2. Taps to add a colorless you can use for anything, but you can also add a mana of any color. Spend it to cast a legendary spell, your commander, and that spell can't be countered. Suck it, Blue Mages.
Good. This card is stupidly good.
1 green.
It's stupidly good.
And they were like, nah, it's not powerful enough. Let's make it a 1/2.
Yeah.
Why not?
This could have been an 0/1 and I would have loved it.
But you're going to be able to block all the 1/1s with this, bro. Delighted Halfling seems really, really cool. The only other thing I would have possibly asked for on this card is go ahead and make it a legend. So it synergizes with historic synergies and any legend synergies. But that's probably taking it a step too far, seeing how this is definitely a backdoor commander set.
Very good card. Next up, we got Elven Chorus, 1 green and 3 other for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Creatures you control have tap add 1 mana of any color, because why the hell not? First 2 things weren't busted enough. Let's just put that thing on there. This card is really, really good. You could just cast stuff from the top of your library. Combine this with stuff like scrying and anything like a top, and you can make sure that you're always casting stuff from the top of your library. Pretty good.
All your tokens that you made on turns 1, 2, and 3 just suddenly becoming mana dorks. It's kind of crazy. Not? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Oracle of Moldiah, 4 mana. Elven Chorus, 4 mana. Enchantment, not a creature anymore.
Yeah.
I think that this is really strong. I think this one, is just automatically in any creature-based decks with green. If you're just trying to ramp. It just seems like
one of those generically good enchantments that just gets so much better with age. And so many of these cards, whether it's a creature or an enchantment, that let you manipulate the top and look at the top, they are always popular cards. They always end up being popular, and that has essentially a chromatic lantern built into it.
Forge anew, a white and 2 other for an enchantment. Says when it ETBs, so you can flicker this, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as it's your turn, you may activate equip abilities anytime you can cast an instant, so that means you can swing with your entire line of 1/1 tokens and decide who's going to grab the Black Blade Reforged at the last second, once you know who's blocked. And just because, why not? For a 3 mana enchantment. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate during each of your turns. So
I'll use that for my Argentum armor.
Yeah,
thanks.
At instant speed, I'm going to attach Argentum armor to the... You said this one wasn't blocked? Okay, perfect. I'm attaching it to that one. For 0 at instant speed.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Because why not?
Not
the
bad.
first two things weren't good enough.
Not bad.
Ooh, baby.
We got some enchantments coming in hot in this set. I'll tell you that.
Now, this card we've seen for a little while, but it needs to be on the list. Last March of the Ents is 2 green and 6 for sorcery. This spell can't be countered. We like to see that text.
Especially for 8.
Draw cards.
Jesus, thank you.
Right? Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. Then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Ooh, pretty big deal. And
Yeah.
this is going to do really well in tree folk type decks where typically the toughness is a lot higher than the power. So like Doran, the siege tower.
For sure. For sure. I look at the card like this and I want to try and establish some floor, because the floor of this, I would imagine, in a deck that's running this is like a 4, right? You will draw 4 cards off of this, and then any number of creatures that are in your hand go straight onto the battlefield. That's what you're really paying the 8 for. The card draw is just like an extra thing, in my opinion.
I want to play this on like a Emrakul or like a Kozilek or some sort of big Eldrazi.
Of course. And I mean, I would think more often, like I said, I'm trying to establish a floor. Like, what would be worst case scenario in a deck that's running this? I would think typically, 5, 6, that's what you're going to hit. Then you're drawing 5 or 6 cards and you're slamming down any amount of creatures from your hand you want to, which you've probably tutored up the exact one you want to slam down for free after you cast last March of the Ents, because you know you're going to get some free casts after it. So yeah, last March of the Ents, big splashy sorcery. Thank the Ents that it can't be countered, because sheesh.
Right.
Arwen, Mortal Queen, a white, a green, and 1 for a 2/2 elf noble. ETBs with an indestructible counter on it. So out the gate, you're getting a 2/2 indestructible for 3. Okay. Then
all right,
pay 1. Remove an indestructible counter from Arwen. Another target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. And you put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on him. And you put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on Arwen. So, like, real quick, want to touch on the lore of Lord of the Rings. I know this from the movies. I'm somewhat of a Lord of the Rings expert myself. Arwen gives up her immortality.
I just have to trust him.
Arwen gives up her immortality to be with Viggo Mortensen, because who wouldn't? Hubba hubba.
I would do that.
Gives
Did
up
you
her
see him in A
immortality.
History of Violence?
Did you see her as the kid of Aerosmith? I'm just saying, Arwen gives up her immortality and gives an indestructible counter to Strider, and that's what happened in the movies.
Yeah,
I think that this is a really fun card. I think that having this on the board,
I would proliferate the shit out of that indestructible counter.
All I want to do is proliferate.
Keep that going.
This is not a sentence that you can say in polite company, but all I want to do is proliferate Arwen. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, man. You want to proliferate the shit out of Arwen. That way you can make sure that you can keep all those counters growing.
Please just let me grow my counters and proliferate Arwen. Moving on.
Yes.
I think that this forces your opponents into some really weird decision lines, and I love cards that do that.
Yeah, I mean, this card, I'm just thinking of, someone playing this, they do a mana dork. I'm just thinking, say I'm playing, Modern or something.
Everybody
and
stand
they do
back.
a mana dork.
Jake's thinking.
Mana dork into a turn 2 Arwen.
Yeah.
And it comes in with that counter on it, and I just am already like,
you're like, God.
Okay, and I'm like, all right, I see where this is going. So yeah, I mean, it seems like a really pesky card, which is why it's on the list.
Yep, absolutely it is. Doors of Durin's a cool artifact. Legendary artifact. What I say? Love
Legendary artifact, baby. Green, red, 3 other. For whenever you attack, scry 2, then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Until your next turn, it gains trample if you control a dwarf, and hexproof if you control an elf. I don't care if you control an elf or a dwarf.
You can control however many you want, or however least not many you want.
Elf or dwarf aside, it's good. it's just, if you can get a creature up there, you're cheating creatures out.
Yeah.
They're tapped and attacking. If they're big, again, Sensei's Divining Top. I know people make fun of me for cards like Crystal Ball. Anything that's letting you scry, anything that's letting you manipulate the top of your library, is going to make this card shine. And I think it's a nice, big, beefy enchantment or artifact. You know that I like these sticky permanents, artifacts and enchantments. I think the card's good.
Yep, I agree with you. I like it. Eowyn Fearless Knight. Man, this ETB. And she's got haste, so you can flicker her and still attack with her. You're in the colors to flicker. Oyo boyo. Eowyn ETBs exile target creature an opponent controls with greater power. Boom. Dunzo. And that's it. That's the rest of what it says about exiling that creature. That creature's gone. There are no caveats. There are no return clauses. That is where the card stops talking about the creature.
What if I just decide to flicker this card over and over and over again?
Exile endlessly. Target creature an opponent controls with greater power.
Wait, what if I pair it with the Deadeye Navigator and I just flicker it over and over again?
I mean, I would hope that I was playing like a 1/1 token deck at that point. Because that's your only hope. And then, because why not? Legendary creatures you control gain protection from each of that creature's colors until end of turn. So, God help the mono green deck that Eowyn exiles Titan of Industry from, and suddenly the entire legendary creature attacking line has pro green, and you know what? We're swinging at you.
Is there something that you could have on the battlefield that makes your creatures have less power? That way, every time that it enters, it's exiling.
I don't think we care about that, man.
That's what we want.
This says 4 or greater, and I'm so down for that.
Yeah, no, because you can have all of like the damage spells. You could run like Sweltering Suns and all of the stuff that deals like 3 damage across the board to pick off the small things.
Well, you're not even worried. You always think in terms of removal. Think in terms of creatures. You're going to have an attacking line.
You're going to have exactly.
Right. And so you just remove all the bigger threats and they've got to make worse blocks. You just punch through. God, you black, red, blue mages and always going right to the board wipe. You're like, yeah, I mean, you board wipe will get the rest.
You just need a board wipe it. Need a board wipe it.
Tell us about Friendly Rivalry. Oh, I tossed this one on here. A green and a red at instant speed. It says target creature you control and up to one other target legendary creature you control each deal damage equal to their power to target creature you don't control. This is a card that a couple of cards exist that have this effect, but very frequently it is a fight. This is a one-sided fight, so to speak, and anytime these get pulled up, you know, cards like Ram Through, anytime these cards get printed, it's of note for the aggro decks because it's one more fight spell that you can replace with something a little bit better.
Yep, I think that this is a pretty good card. It's just you kind of like a little team up action.
Yeah, right.
Combine your forces, knock something out.
Exactly.
Probably not going to be a super expensive card, but definitely something to have on your radar.
No, this video is not about specs or anything. This video is just about cards that we think will be fun and playable.
Yep. Next up, we have Pippin, Guard of the Citadel. 1 blue and 1 white for a 2/2 legendary creature halfling soldier. Has Vigi and Ward 1, and then you can tap it. Another target creature you control gains protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. Card type.
Dude.
So that's a pretty interesting effect.
And that's protection.
It has like a Mother of Runes kind of feel going on with it.
Right.
Pretty strong.
Look at that reminder text, chat. Blocked, targeted, dealt damage, enchanted, or equipped by anything of that type.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Really good flag bearer.
Thankfully, it doesn't say another or target creature, and it does say another.
Right. There is, chat, there's this old card. Jake and I always call different creatures flag bearers. There was this old card, 2 of them, I think.
Called Flag Bearer, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
One was called Flag Bearer, and one was like Coalition Honor Guard or something like that.
Yes, Coalition Honor Guard, 100%.
And they had an ability on them that said this must, if a spell can target this thing, it must target this thing. I ran them in my commander decks back when we started playing the format, in 2013, 2012. Nowadays, there are cards that must be dealt with before. Like, you don't need that ability anymore to be a flag bearer in my mind, because this card, you're like, well, anything we do to the thing we want to kill, we're gonna have to go through this. And so to me, this is a flag bearer. This is the modern version of a flag bearer, and that's a really valuable card to play in your commander decks.
This with a lightning greaves on it is like the most frustrating thing that I could possibly imagine.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Just so hard. Everybody's got to work together. You're gonna have to get through two. It's exactly like a Spellskite, Corey. That was sort of that like next version, because the flag bearer cards that we're talking about were in this set called Apocalypse. And then when Spellskite came around, it was that exact same kind of thing. Just a new type of flag bearer where it's got to be targeted down. But yeah, Pippin, I think it's a cool card. I think it's going to really be a thorn in a lot of people's sides. We talked about this uncommon towards one of the earlier days of the review of the set, but wanted to get it on the commander list because I still think it's really got so much potential. Black Blue 1 sorcery says search your library for a card that shares a color with a legendary creature you control. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So for 3 mana at sorcery speed, you are getting any card, as long as you got your commander on the battlefield, you're getting any card that is in your commander's colors right into your hand. And yeah, you got to reveal it, but you're getting it right into your hand for 3 mana. And that's typically a 4 or 5 mana effect if we're not looking at cards like D-Tutor.
Right.
I think this one's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, and we need to go over the ring tempts you. Have we talked about that at all?
Doesn't look like anything to me.
Yeah, the ring tempts you is text that we need to figure out at some point. But yeah, a tutor spell, I do completely agree, because other than demonic, most tutors come in around like that 4 spot. You know, you do have other ones that come in cheaper and have certain effects, but yeah, this is a cheap tutor, so definitely something to keep on the brain there.
Yep.
Friendo says, doesn't look like anything to me.
Doesn't look like anything to me. And Duril, Flame of the West, mythic equipment, bro.
Yeah, this one's good. 3 for equip creature gets +3/+1. Equip of 2, and whenever equipped creature attacks, create 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. If that creature is legendary, instead create 2 of those tokens that are tapped and attacking. So it is an equipment that has token generation built into it. It just seems so good. And on top of that, you're getting +3/+1 for an equip of 2.
Yeah,
just seems absolutely crazy.
I'm loving that 2 equip, man. The equip of 2 is really what's selling this one for me.
It's right on par with all of the swords.
Yes.
This
is one where I'll be taking a look at it for Dahada. Just these legendary artifacts that legendary matters for as well. Any of the Joda decks, any of the Dahada decks, any of the Legends Matters decks that have been popping up recently. Or just a Boros, I mean, like Wylith. You know, that is all about suiting Wylith up. Mm-hmm. Why not be creating tokens? Is it small beans? Maybe. And that's really why I got to test it and see. Like, I would almost rather the tokens not come into play tapped and attacking. I would almost rather just get 2 1/1 flyers when I attack, and they're just on the battlefield. Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's from a commander perspective. Like, this feels like it was designed for a constructed format, potentially.
Oh, for sure. I think so as well. I love that it happens on the attack. I think that that's really good. And I do agree with you. You know, just don't put it on anything legendary, and then you don't have to worry about it. But no, it does seem strong. And then we have another equipment here.
Glamdring. Get that whole sword in there, Ian McKellen. Show it off, baby. Love this art. 2 mana equipment. Hell yeah. Equipped creature has first strike and gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. That sure looks familiar.
That looks pretty familiar, doesn't it?
Why don't we tack some more text onto that? Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you can cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. You had me at Rune Chanter's Pike, baby.
I know, right? It's Rune Chanter's Pike with a ton of upside.
Why not?
The equip is a little bit steep, but if you're in like a spell slinger kind of thing and you're running, like a flyer, put it on a flyer. When it gets through, you're casting something big. It seems like a really fun card.
Most I've seen Gandalf represented in this game looking like Ian McKellen on a card, I must say.
It does look good.
Think that artist had a few reference photos going there. Jake, this moment in the movies was when Boromir the movies again, I'm really gonna piss off some lore people. This moment in the movies is when Boromir was like, oh, I must turn to the bad side, I gotta turn back to the good side, and then sacrificed himself, right?
I believe so. I think so. I don't know.
This has been Lord of the Rings lore with Jake and Joel. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, I have no idea, dude. I don't know. You teed that up for me, and I was like, yeah,
I think
sure,
probably.
But we do have a good token generator here. Horn of Gondor 3. For whenever it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. That's okay. But then for 3 and tap, create X 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of humans you control.
Yeah.
So if you are playing humans, this can get out of hand very quickly. You got a coat of arms going on next to them, and then before you know it, you have a whole bunch of tokens. Put them in a doubling season, like a white-green kind of thing.
Right.
And this is just stupid, dude. It's stupid.
I mean, 3 to double the number of human creatures you have on the battlefield, right?
Yes.
That is what we're looking at here. So it's niche, but that niche definitely wants this deck. Definitely wants this deck.
Yeah, I think so. It's just, it seems like
in that deck.
Yep.
Horn
and
of the
then we
Mark.
have another horn. Yeah.
Everybody's a little horny today. 2 mana, legendary artifact. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Rest on the bottom in a random order. 2 or more creatures you control attack a player. You get to look at the top 5 and increase your creature count. If this was a 3 mana card, I would look at it and go, I don't know. But at 2, I'm like, I kind of am into this for the card advantage that it could provide decks that don't have access to a ton of that type of card advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, this seems pretty good.
And this is
the only thing that's negative about it is what you don't get has to go to the bottom.
Sure.
I know that that's going to be a negative for some people, but yeah, it just seems like just such supreme card advantage in an aggro shell.
I'm going to send 2 at you. I'm going to send 2 at you, and I'm going to send 2 at you. We get 3 triggers off of this, and we get to get 3 creatures into our hand from the top 15 of our library, 5 at a time. I mean, a token deck.
Just go through your whole deck. Go through your whole deck. Just cherry pick and just keep going through the deck.
That's what I'm saying.
Good.
I just really feel like this has got potential in token attacking strategies, which aren't those everywhere nowadays. Oh my god, this freaking card, dude. I swear to God, Jake.
Strictly better.
I swear to God.
It's strictly better.
I saw this card and I went into the Discord and said no one showed Jake the Mithril Coat.
Mithril Coat. Yeah.
Because he's never going to not...
It's a better Dark Steel plate.
Tell us about it.
I love it, though. I honestly love it. It's just 3 flash indestructible. When it ETBs, attach it to target legendary creature you control. Equip creature has indestructible, and then the equip is 3. But I think we like it more than Dark Steel Plate. What's the equip on Dark Steel Plate? I can't remember it right now. I believe it's a 2 to play, 3 to equip.
Dark Steel Plate is 3 to play, 2 to equip.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 3 to play, 2 to... Yeah, so this is just strictly better. You get around that equip cost, you're able to skate a removal spell pending it isn't an exile spell. But then, yeah, you flash this in, you protect your commander, and yeah, I love it. I love it. I like it a lot more than Darksteel Plate.
Chat is mad at you for dismissing Darksteel Plate so simply. How quickly you move on from a years-long relationship when you see something flashy and made of mithril.
I know.
You disgust us. Come on, chat. We're out of here.
Take that back right now, Jake. I'm sorry, John. Darksteel Plate is still attractive, but I just like that this has flash. If Darksteel Plate had flash, I would like it. If Darksteel Plate equipped the moment that it came onto the battlefield at instant speed, I would love that about Darksteel Plate. And that's what they did with this card. They said, hey, do you guys like Darksteel Plate? It costs the same amount as it. What if we gave Darksteel Plate flash? And then when it enters the battlefield, it just equips for free. You could just equip it onto the legendary creature you control. And then they created Mithril Coat. So this is like Darksteel Plate's big brother, and Darksteel Plate is now the sidekick to this card. Which is hard to say. But.
Nobody puts Darksteel Plate in the corner. K-Spice says, and makes a very good point, that canonically, Mithril is strictly better than Darksteel now. So, you know, whatever happens to I guess it's for new Phyrexia at this point, and no longer Mirrodin at all. But
yes,
wherever the Darksteel is, if you think you're packing, just wait until Mithril Plate flashes onto the battlefield at instant speed.
So how does Dragon Glass factor in then? If you have Mithril, Darksteel, and Dragon Glass, which one is the what's going to happen?
I don't even know what Dragon Glass is.
From a whole different world, whole different fandom, completely. I don't think it exists in Magic.
Then it's just is the same as the ratio of leprechauns to unicorns.
Okay, good.
Stone of Eric. Bro, I don't know who Eric is, but he brought a good stone at uncommon.
Good. Yeah.
This first ability, y'all, I can't overstate how much this first ability can shut someone's deck off. It's just an off switch.
Oh, dude, it's
one
such a pesky card.
Mana.
And it has draw a card on it. So it's like the kind of thing where if you do need to play it just to like late game play it, exile something, whatever, and then just draw a card just to like almost like janky cycle it out of your hand to get something else. That's built into it too.
Y'all, and I see the chat. Robert, you're right. Imagine playing Muldrotha. That would suck. Marin Clan Neltot, that would suck. But you're thinking right here. Any creature that says when this thing dies, when something dies, all of that is turned off because it doesn't go to the graveyard. The die gets replaced by exiled.
On the stack says it's so good, but I hate it. Yeah.
Whenever a creature you control dies, nope. Eric says nope. Uncommon,
and it's
by
just
the way.
For opponents. It doesn't hurt you.
Exactly.
You get to live the good life.
Leyline of the Void,
good life, bro. Yeah.
Nearly killed her. Stone of Eric. 1 mana. Is not symmetrical.
Rest in peace.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's very strong.
This just feels so strong and uncommon. It's unbelievable. I guess they
Lance
didn't
had it right with the silence.
They didn't want to put something this unknowingly brutal because look, you glance at this and you're like, yeah, that's really mean, but you don't really fully think about it until you got a board full of dies triggers. And you're going, does anybody have anything for the Stone of Eric?
Yeah. And it's like, no, I used my Vandal Blast earlier to get everybody's soul rings and stuff.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting the legendary uncommon Stone of Eric. This is a good card. You should think about running this one.
When I swing with my Sun Titan, I'll return Stone of Eric to the battlefield.
Oof, God. And it's not symmetrical. It's just for them. But Minas Tirith, this one's a pretty good one.
These lands are good.
Yeah.
There's some really good lands in here. Minas Tirith, legendary land. When it ETBs, Minas Tirith enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. So plays right alongside your commander nicely. Taps for 1 white. And then it also has 1 white and 1 other. Tap to draw a card. Activate only if you attacked with 2 or more creatures this turn. So another really good card for aggro.
Yep.
Or if you're just attacking. You know, this is a great card to play. You got to draw a card for 2. It's typically an ability that's much more expensive. So this seems like a card that a lot of people are going to want. Seems easy to avoid that drawback, seeing as it is a card to play alongside your commander. Sometimes it'll enter the battlefield tapped, but I don't think people will really mind that all that much.
And this card is going to see play in formats that want more than 1. I'm not saying they're going to want 4 because it is a legendary land, but I mean, Elspeth is in, not Elspeth, but Thalia is in every aggro white deck up and down the formats. And so this is going to be a relevant card in those decks. It's like a repeatable white chart a course on a land.
Oh, Lance, you're absolutely right. It does cost 3. I'm sorry, I got to take that back. What I said, costing 2, because you do have to pay 2 and tap it to draw the card.
Yeah,
that was absolutely correct. My bad.
In decks that need an effect like this, it's going to fit a perfect niche, and it's not going to be all of that other is just going to be worked with. But drawing a card in an aggro deck, that's at a premium, and repeatably on a land that you've basically already used. Like, tell me how many times I've played an aggro deck and 2 of my lands are just like useless for the rest of the game after I'm past a certain threshold. This can just keep doing things. Those decks run Castle Ardenvale just to pay 4 and create a 1/1 token. And so paying 2 to draw a card if you got an attack off, I think it's good. This one's another one, Minds of Moria. Same thing. Tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Taps for red. You pay 4 and it to exile 3 cards from your graveyard to create 2 treasure tokens. Just ramp your mana up. Cards that you don't need anymore, later.
Yeah. Get rid of the used fetch lands if you don't need them, whatever. Any kind of fodder that's in there. Keep the relevant stuff. That's also good when you're trying to, like, get your graveyard pruned to, like, if you do have cards that return anything at random or anything like that. But yeah, this is a card that just seems really good. Treasure synergistic stuff has been very good pretty much since its inception, and this is in the right colors for treasure. It's not like the bootlegger stash, which is in the wrong color. This is a strong card, and again, really good to have this on a land, and it's a repeatable effect. You don't have to exile this. As long as you have stuff in the yard, you can create treasure. Seems good.
Seems good.
Seems good.
As does Boromir, Warden of the Tower.
Yeah, 1 white, 2 other for a 3/3 legendary creature, human soldier, vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. And then you could sacrifice Boromir, and creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. And then there's some other text on there that it doesn't matter and doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything to me. I like sacrificing Boromir at instant speed to give all of our other creatures indestructible on a 3-mana creature. And just for shits and gigs, as Tolkien called it in the books famously, whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it was free, you get to give them the middle finger. Which is another thing that Tolkien loved to do. So just up and down flavor win on this card.
But it does have kind of like a selfless spirit kind of vibe. This is another thing that's easy to get back as well.
Right. It doesn't look anything like Sean Bean, so it's kind of annoying, but, you know.
It's all right.
I don't think they've really nailed the movie character look with a lot of these cards, so what are you going to do? Lost Isle Calling. 1 blue, 1 other enchantment. Whenever you scry, you put a verse counter on Lost Isle Calling. So whenever your crystal ball gets to ballin', you get to put verse counters on this. And then 6 mana, exile it, draw a card for each verse counter on it. And if it had 7 or more verse counters on it, take an extra turn. Can't do that at instant speed, but who cares?
Yeah, it does say take an extra turn, which is why we included it on the list. And in decks where scrying matters, so think something like, what's that Sphinx called? Elegith? Something like that, where you're scrying a lot. This is going to be a card that is probably going to do well in there.
Elminster.
So, something to consider. Oh, it's Elminster. Thank you.
Well, that was the Planeswalker scrying commander from Baldur's Gate.
Gotcha. No, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, very niche. You're going to want to be scrying already, obviously, but I mean, there have been a couple of Scry Matters cards printed into this set. That's kind of a sub-theme, I think, for the Elven side of things. And so this fits really well into that, especially for just a 2 mana investment, just to build up over time. If you're already doing it, that's when you're going to want to run a card like this.
Yeah, the sorcery speed holds it back, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Next up, we have Storm of Saruman. For 2 blue and 4 other, we have an enchantment with Ward 3. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it, except the copy isn't legendary. You may choose new targets for the copy. So just this big, beefy enchantment that protects itself a little bit with Ward 3 and makes it to where your second spell is getting copied. It seems very, very good.
Oh, yeah. I love this card. Play your like small mana cantrips in this deck, because you'll play that. Once you resolve this, you're playing that first, situate everything, and then like play your commander after that, and you get a token copy non-legendary of your commander on the battlefield. It's just like so brutal.
They didn't restrict it.
No.
They didn't make it to where it's like instant or sorcery. It just says second spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty nuts.
I've got a Flash themed deck built around that Esper dragon that can instant speed turn into a 1/1 legendary human, and it's all reskinned to be a Batman theme. I really want this
that's right.
in that deck because it has a lot to do with flash speed and second spells and stuff like that. And so I got to think of a way to reskin Storm of Saruman into Batman lore. But I really want this card in my Flash deck. I think it's a really, really fun deck. Really fun card.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks like it's a good card.
Rivendell is the blue legendary land from this cycle, and also the only one I couldn't find a high-res version of. Look at this potato of Rivendell here. I drew this for everybody. This is my work.
It looks good.
Yeah, thank you.
You look like an aspiring artist.
I try to look like an aspiring artist every day. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature, same as the rest of the cycle. Taps to add blue. Pay 1 blue. Pay 1. Tap it and scry 2 if you control a legend. That's a pretty cheap, repeatable, nice little way of scrying over and over again so that you can trigger your new enchantment, Lost Isle Calling. Yay! And get verse counters.
When you think about it, think about a card, for example, Castle Vantress.
People play it.
Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control an island. It has tap, add blue, but it has for 2 blue, 2 other, and then tap, scry 2. Worse by 3. Worse by 2 mana. Yeah, so this is a pretty big upgrade there, and it's restricted only by the legendary clause. I like both.
Yep, I think that decks that want an effect like that will probably enjoy running both. But that is our picks for our favorite commander cards in this set. Let us know what cards that we missed down in the comments, because this set has been pretty stacked for commander cards. So I'm sure that somebody was like, this card goes great in my X deck, and you needed to have said it on the stream. I'm unsubbing now, and my unsub counts for 5. Sorry.
Well, bro, and we're going to have to take a look at all the commander cards next week, because there's going to be commander cards that are spoiled that are in the commander decks that aren't even part of this set. So we're going to find some stuff that's going to be absolutely busted in there. You know that there's always a card in the commander decks that is a standout. Each deck has at least 1 or 2, but this is Lord of the Rings. Is there going to be something that maybe they didn't realize is so strong? We have like a whole bunch of, we could even talk next week about the best legends in the set as well. What are the best cards that could be commanders? We've talked mostly tonight about cards that would be really good in the 99, but there's still a lot more to discuss about Lord of the Rings.